Welcome to part 5 of the 12C-R1 Linux Rack Installation Cookbook video, where we will be creating a rack database. We have created a VNC session as the Oracle user, so Oracle owns the RDBMS software and will own the database. First thing we want to do is set the environment. We have a script to do so. Take a quick look at it. You can see that this will set the environment. Go ahead and execute that script, and I'm not setting an instance name. We'll name that via DBCA. We'll go ahead and launch DBCA. The important part of the environment script is the Oracle home and path. First screen we're presented with is what we want to do. So obviously we want to create a database. And the creation mode that we want to choose here is we're going to choose the advanced mode. This gives us a little bit more flexibility in the configuration that we're going to put in place for the database. So our database type is a real application clusters database. Your options here are single instance or rack 1 node. We want a rack database. We're going to use a policy managed database rather than the traditional admin managed. So policy managed was a new feature in 11.201. I'll let you read more about the policy managed database in the Oracle Rack admin guide. I'm not going to explain it here. So our database type is going to be general purpose or transaction processing. Our global database name is going to be MyDB. So you'll see an option here, create as a container database. So this is for the new pluggable database feature, or otherwise known as multi-tenant container database. So if you want to use that feature, the pluggable database feature, or the multi-tenant database feature, you would click the create as container database and how many pluggable databases you want in that container and give it a PDB name. For this database that we're creating here, we're doing a standard database. If you want to learn more about container databases and pluggable database, you can consult the 12C-R1 database concepts guide in the online documentation, as well as 12C-R1 administrator's guide. So on this screen, we're presented with the option to create a server pool. So a server pool is a policy managed database concept, or a policy management concept, where you actually have a pool of servers as a set of resources to run a specific service. So we're going to name it My Server Pool. Functionality is the number of servers that will exist in a given server pool. For this, we're choosing 3. DBCA is actually going to create the server pool, and our database will run within that server pool. So we'll have 3 instances out of the box with our database. The next screen, you're presented with the option to configure Enterprise Manager for Database Express, cluster verification utility. We are going to leave those default options checked. And we want to use the same administrative password for all users. So for our storage locations, for our database files, we want to use DB data. Our storage type is obviously ASM. We created ASM disk groups. We're going to use a common location for all database files, which is DB data, and we want to multiplex our redo logs and control files. For the recovery related files, again, we want to use ASM. We want to specify a fast recovery, and that is DB flash, and we'll leave the default size as 5 gig for now. Go ahead and click Next. We're not going to install any sample schemas, and we're not going to be configuring database vault or label security, so we'll go ahead and click Next. We do not want to use automatic memory management. Best practice on Linux is to use huge pages. AMM and huge pages are not compatible, so we do not want automatic memory management. Our default size for our SGA and PGA, we're going to make it 1500 meg. Run rather small servers here. And we're going to go ahead and create the database. CVU will run prerequisite checks to ensure we're ready to create the database. And once that completes, we'll be provided with a summary screen. We can see here our validation results. We have free space warnings on 3 of our servers for the /temp file system. We're only a couple megs short there. We did validate that. So it's not really that big of a deal whenever you're only a couple meg off. And we're going to go ahead and ignore those and click Next to continue. Here we see our summary screen. Quick review of that. And we're ready to begin the creation of the database. For the purposes of this video, we did speed up the database creation process through editing of this video. The actual time it takes to create the database will be system dependent, but we can guarantee it's going to take longer than what it shows in this video. Database creation is now complete. On the screen at this point you'll see a summary screen which includes global database name, the database SID, SP file location, Enterprise Manager Express URL, which we'll want to take a note of, and it also allows you to manage the passwords should you choose to. At this point we're going to go ahead and click Exit. We have now completed the creation of our rack database and now have a fully functional 12C R1 rack cluster. This completes the 12C R1 rack installation cookbook video series. Thank you for watching.